The interview was expected to be routine, another panel, another debate, another night of brief exchanges and packed airtime. But when Karoline Leavitt sat across from Harrison Ford on national television, what started as typical political back and forth quickly shifted course. From the outset, tension filled the space noticeable. Heavy, the kind that forms when two assertive figures share a frame. Karoline entered with confidence, a slight smirk hinting at over-assurance. Harrison arrived as he always does, composed, direct, grounded, no drama. Just presence. They exchanged views on policy, values, and leadership. Then came the moment. Karoline leaned forward and, still smirking, remarked, "It's easy to sound wise when you've spent your life reciting lines. Try leading something real, not a Hollywood script." The room didn't react with shock. It just froze. Not a murmur, just silence, the kind that follows a misstep. He didn't frown. He calmly took a sip of water, set the glass down, and met her gaze. "You're confusing visibility with value," he said in a low, steady voice. "I'm not here to perform. I'm here to speak honestly." The atmosphere shifted. Karoline moved to respond, but he continued. "You talk about the real world like it's hypothetical. I've lived it, built in it, led through it, tanned, never stepped away." That's when the dynamic changed. Her smirk faded, timing slipped, and control of the moment passed to him. The host tried to steer the conversation, but it was too late. The clip hit social media before the show even went to commercial. Harrison dismantled Hercom. Clear, deliberate. She came for a clash. He delivered clarity. It wasn't a rebuttal, it was experience making a statement. By midnight, the video had more than 6 million views. It was everywhere, shared by veterans, journalists, students, nurses, even apolitical viewers. One comment stood out. He didn't talk over her. He outlasted her. By morning, Karoline's next appearance was canceled. Her team claimed the clip was taken out of context, but the moment had already moved beyond them. Harrison, he said nothing, just reposted the clip with a simple line. "Truth doesn't shout. No celebration. No boasting." He didn't seek attention, but it was clear who held control. Because sometimes strength isn't in volume, it's in authenticity. Some audience members quietly adjusted in their seats. A few staffers avoided eye contact as Karoline stepped off stage. The press moved in fast. "Do you regret your comment to Harrison Ford? What's your response to the backlash?" She kept walking, muttering about free speech and media spin, but few were convinced. Online, hashtags surged like wildfire. Hashtag Ford stood tall. Hashtag dignity over drama. She challenged the wrong person. And just when it seemed the moment might fade, Harrison posted one more message, short and sharp. "No name, no anger, just precision. Some speak just to be heard. Others wait until it matters. Last night showed why the difference matters. Thank you to those who listened. No tags, no mentions. But everyone knew who it addressed." The post went viral. Millions of shares and likes. Clips spread across TikTok, Reels, classrooms, and Packers. Karoline read the post in her car. Her hands trembled. Her assistant looked back through the mirror, unsure what to say. Then the calls started. "Karoline, donors are leaving. Leadership's distancing itself. We can't protect this anymore." She stared at her phone. The very words she had aimed at Harrison once, delivered with confidence, were now echoing back. This wasn't just a miscalculation. She had underestimated someone the public trusted. By sunrise, the impact had widened. Outside her office, quiet protesters stood, not yelling, just holding signs. "We heard Harrison. Respect resonates." Inside the Capitol, things had shifted. Familiar faces avoided eye contact. A former mentee gave a stiff nod. Even the janitor walked past in silence. But the real blow came in a voicemail from a rising figure in her own party, calm, concise, and pointed. "You challenged the wrong man." He didn't retaliate, he clarified. "Now the story is his, and so is the ground it stands on." She brushed it off in public. Alone, the pressure built. She'd misjudged him. Thought he'd react. Thought he'd snap. But Harrison Ford didn't need to raise his voice. He just stood firm and let silence do the rest. That evening he appeared. In a virtual segment, no hype. It's just a faint smile, a nod, in the same composed tone. "The bill passed," he said. "That's what matters. Sometimes growth begins after the noise dies down." The internet erupted. Even critics acknowledged the moment. Thoughtful, mature, measured. But for Karoline, the fallout was only beginning. At 9:15 p.m., a former aide spoke out on national TV, visibly emotional. "I was there when Karoline said the policy didn't matter, just the headlines." She believed picking a fight with Ford would make her stand out. "I couldn't stay quiet anymore." The clip exploded online. Disbelief, frustration, dismay. Even people on her side began to speak up. One post captured the sentiment. "She didn't just go after Ford. She tried to undermine Poison Lost." Peterson shared the clip with no words, just a mic emoji. Karoline posted a Notes app apology, but it was too late. Her base had started to shift. Forums filled with new calls. No more showmanship. "We need substance." He stayed grounded. She lost hers. That night, she sat alone in her apartment. Her phone buzzed, then stopped. Her campaign advisor left the group chat. A friend texted, "You're on your own." Even her fiancé paused. Before coming downstairs, you had to provoke him. Should have just listened. She looked at the TV. There was Harrison still, serious, unbothered. And that's when she realized this wasn't just a lost argument. She hadn't just lost the debate. She'd lost the audience. And the world was still watching. Karoline tried to push back. She unlocked her phone and started typing responses, defenses, explanations. But each message only made things worse. Old clips resurfaced, her praising Harrison Ford in earlier interviews, calling him a voice of reason, supporting his work, even endorsing the very bill she had recently criticized. The internet didn't attack, it remembered. She eventually turned off her phone, not because she was being canceled, but because she realized something deeper. This was self-inflicted. Meanwhile, in a quiet office overlooking the Capitol, Harrison Ford sat at his desk, reviewing policy notes with a black pen in hand. The Equity and Honor Act had passed. The country was moving forward. But Ford wasn't focused on headlines. He was reflecting on the moment. His longtime advisor walked in and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You handled it with grace," she said. Ford nodded. "They needed to see I don't react to noise." Another aide entered, holding a phone. "The draft's ready." The statement was brief, thoughtful, and as with everything he'd said, intentional. Betrayal from within strikes deeper than pressure from outside. But we don't retaliate. We rebuild. With integrity, with clarity, for the people. Read it aloud and looked up. Post it. Around the room, seasoned staffers, trained to stay composed, nodded quietly. Not for politics, it's for principle. In New Hampshire, the consequences hit hard. Local news aired polls showing Karoline's approval rating collapsing. Only 9% of conservative voters still supported her. Endorsements disappeared. Churches rescinded invitations. Fundraisers stopped responding. At a town hall meant to reset her image, she walked onto the stage to silence, heavy silence. Then came quiet whispers, letdowns, disapproval. "You lied to us," a mother said through tears. "You disrespected a man who's given more to this country than you know." An elderly veteran slowly stood, holding a folded flag. "Harrison gave us dignity. You gave us a headline." Karoline attempted to respond, voice cracking. I thought I was doing what was right." From the back, a teenager replied, "No, you did what your team thought would trend." That was the moment it broke. She saw it in the room. It was over. That night, alone in her office, she opened her inbox. One message unread. Subject: "You stood against character. Now stand alone." She didn't respond. She couldn't. Her hands trembled. Her chest tightened. This wasn't about a failed interview or a media cycle. It wasn't a temporary loss. Oh, she hadn't just misjudged the situation. She'd lost public trust. Morning returned to Washington. But for Karoline, it still felt like night. The silence wasn't from resolution. It was from abandonment. Her communications director resigned over text. Her campaign manager stopped replying. A longtime political ally sent 3 words, "Can't save you." She stood by her apartment window. Below, people gathered, not yelling, just present, holding signs. He stood tall. "You talk down." Conservative talk radio turned. "You don't attack someone like Harrison Ford just to trend," said one host. He didn't shout back. He simply raised the standard. Karoline opened her phone again, hovering over a new tweet. But before she typed, another clip surfaced, an old one. There she was. In a past interview, Harrison Ford belongs in civics class, not just for what he's done, but how he conducts himself. More contradictions. The record wasn't just questioned, it was documented. She locked the screen. This wasn't sabotage. It wasn't cancel culture. It was collapse. She hadn't just underestimated Ford. She'd misunderstood. The value of composure. Harrison Ford never sought a win. He just wanted to be heard. Now he was both. In a modest office across town, Ford sat reviewing briefing notes. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't seeking credit. He simply returned to work because that's what leadership requires. An aide entered, holding another printout. "New draft, sir." Ford read it, then spoke. "When someone in your ranks breaks formation, you don't retaliate. You realign, because the mission remains. Honor, service, people." He looked up. "Post it." No applause followed, just understanding. It was. Never about headlines. It was about values. Elsewhere, in a small North Carolina town, Marine veteran David McCullen, 36, watched Ford's recent appearance. His hands weren't shaking from anxiety, they burned with purpose. 2 years earlier, his brother, also a Marine, had died by suicide after being denied care at an overcrowded VA facility. The Equity and Honor Act could have helped, but Karoline had voted against it. David turned to his wife. "It's time," she nodded, eyes misty. "Do it for him." That night, David posted a short video. Karoline Leavitt turned her back on us. "I'm not a politician. I'm a Marine. And I'm answering Harrison Ford's call." Within an hour, 2.3 million views. Ford reposted it with 4 words. "That's who we fight for." Donations surged. Comments poured in. People began calling him the People's Marine. Suddenly, Karoline wasn't managing a PR issue. She was facing a movement by morning. Something small but unforgettable emerged. A letter in crayon from an 8-year-old girl in Winston-Salem named Emily. Her father, a truck driver, had been struggling since the pandemic. The bill would have helped, but he never received support because of Karoline's vote. The letter was short but devastating. "Dear Mr. Ford, thank you for helping my daddy. He's tired and cries a lot. Please don't stop. Please don't. Let that lady hurt more families." Ford read it aloud at a local round table. He had to pause midway. Even seasoned journalists stayed quiet. He finished softly. This is who we fight for. Not donors, not headlines. Families like Emily's. Online reactions were overwhelming. He didn't campaign. He cared. She chased attention. He carried weight. Karoline's name was buried beneath widespread disappointment. Ford's name rose again with quiet, earned respect. By midday, Karoline's silence ended, but not how she had hoped. Her sister arrived unannounced, visibly upset. Her brother called from across the country. Even her college-age daughter, usually uninterested in politics, stood quietly in the doorway. "Mom," she said, her voice unsteady, "you didn't just disappoint voters. You hurt people. Lemily. That Marine. ... US." Karoline's eyes welled up. "I really thought I was doing the right thing." Her daughter shook her head. "No, Mom. You did what was convenient." From the other room, her husband, who hadn't spoken in days, added calmly, "Now we're all living with the consequences." Karoline's wife said softly, "Ambition got the better of you. Harrison didn't reveal this to harm you. He did it to protect others." Karoline sat on the couch, face in her hands. And for the first time since everything began, she cried not out of self-pity, but because deep down, she knew she had brought this on herself. By then, voices weren't just digital, they were in the streets. In Charlotte, Durham, and Asheville, thousands marched holding signs. Thank you. Harrison, we stand with the Justice and Honor Act, we remember. Veterans held flags. Teachers stepped out of classrooms. Farmers rolled tractors down main streets. It wasn't protest, it was affirmation. On her father's shoulders sat Young. It's Emily, the same girl, who wrote to Ford's smiling and waving. A photo captured the moment. It spread instantly. Emily believed in Harrison when Karoline didn't. Back in Washington, Harrison Ford watched the footage quietly. He leaned closer to the screen. That's not a protest, he said to a nearby staffer. That's America waking up. And it was, because this wasn't about gaining political ground. It was about something people could feel. Authenticity. Karoline looked out her window. Then she saw the sign that broke her. You will never be trusted again. Her advisors urged her not to do the interview, but desperation breeds risk, she agreed. To a live appearance, under the studio lights, she looked distant, her blazer slightly off, her tone unsure. The host got straight to it. Ms. Leavitt, did you take campaign money in exchange for opposing Harrison Ford's bill? She hesitated. I acted on principle. The host followed up. We have records, Karoline. Her voice dropped. I needed support for re-election. That was it. She didn't deny it. She justified it. The host turned to the camera. There you have it. She admits to putting politics over people. Online backlash exploded. Teens reenacted the moment on TikTok. One skit showed a boy pretending to cry, wiping his eyes with Monopoly money. I needed funding. Karoline was no longer a public figure, she was a meme, a warning. By that evening, her approval rating had dropped to 2%, and Ford posted a simple video. American flags waving in the wind. Caption, we rise by doing what's right. At 10 a.m. sharp the next day, without notifying media, Harrison Ford landed in North Carolina. No podium, no press. Just him, his son, and 2 black SUVs. He walked into a local community center. It was packed. Veterans, families, children. Emily sat on her dad's lap. Ford knelt down, looked her in the eyes, and said, You represent what? Matters in this country. I'll never stop fighting for you. The story went viral. By noon, 50,000 people stood outside. No microphone, no speech. It was Ford stepping onto the porch and saying, You trusted me. I won't forget it. That was enough. Men teared up. Women prayed. Even journalists paused. Back in D.C., Karoline watched, her hands shaking. She saw Emily's face, her father's eyes. And in that expression, there was no politics, only hope. Karoline whispered, I betrayed the wrong person. Her name had become synonymous with failure. Even close friends had gone silent. So in one last effort, she recorded a video, no script, no production, just a phone camera. Her voice raw, her expression exposed. To the people of North Carolina, I let you down. I let Mr. Ford down. I let myself down. She paused. He was right. The Justice and Honor Act wasn't about politics. It was about lives. Her voice cracked. Emily, David, ... I see it now. I let ambition guide me. I'm sorry. She closed with, Mr. Ford, if you're watching, I was wrong. I hope one day you'll forgive me. The video spread quickly, but the comments were cold. Too late. You were warned. He owes you nothing. Ford didn't respond. He didn't have to. Sometimes silence says more. That night, he appeared live from the Oval Office. No tie, no teleprompter. Just a flag on his chest and something resolute in his eyes. Not here to talk politics, he began. I'm here to talk about healing. Spoke about the bill, the families still waiting, the ones left behind. This isn't a perfect law, but it's real. It's ours. And every person who supported it believed in a better nation. He looked directly at the camera. To those who mocked, doubted, or turned away, you didn't hurt me, you hurt them. But we'll recover. That's who we are. Across the country, homes fell quiet. Fathers wiped their eyes. Grandparents whispered prayers. Children leaned closer to listen. "I'll keep fighting," Ford said. "Not for praise, but for those who feel forgotten. For every quiet voice that deserves to be heard." That moment the nation seemed united. "We Stand with Harrison" began to trend, not just as support, but as recognition. He wasn't just a leader, he was a protector. Meanwhile, Karoline sat in her apartment, eyes red, hands trembling on the remote. She had once dreamed of that spotlight. Now, she couldn't step outside without regret. No calls, no donors. Then came the final blow, a formal statement from her party. "We support Harrison Ford and his commitment to the people. We are now seeking leadership that reflects our values." That process begins immediately. It was finished not next term, not gradually, immediately. Karoline sat in her empty office. The lights were on, but the purpose was gone. No phones ringing, no support team. Just the quiet sound of a country moving forward without her. The next morning, sunlight reached across the country like a quiet promise. And with it came something rare: relief. The bill Harrison had fought for had begun making a difference in Ohio. A veteran finally received a surgery appointment 2 years overdue. In Birmingham, a single mother opened her housing approval letter. In Charlotte, a father opened an envelope stamped "Federal support granted. Justice and Honor Act, Section 4. He sat down in disbelief. Tears formed. His daughter climbed onto his lap. "Daddy, are we okay now?" He smiled, because Harrison didn't give up on us. Now people understood this was never just about legislation. It was about keeping a promise. And it had been honored. Karoline saw it all unfold on screen. No campaign left. No audience. Just the weight of what she had lost. At 8 a.m. sharp, Harrison Ford posted one final message. No background music. No graphics. Just a black screen with white text. "I didn't fight back for me. I fought for you, for every family, for every worker, for every forgotten voice in this country. We're just getting started." Harrison Ford, America first, always. It broke digital records. 35 million views in 2 hours. Celebrities reposted it. Veterans read it aloud at town halls. Children wrote it in chalk on driveways. Teachers printed it on classroom walls. And little Emily, she saw it on her tablet and whispered, "He kept his promise, Daddy." In a quiet studio in Charlotte, Marine veteran David McCullen looked into the camera. Karoline Leavitt turned her back on us. Harrison never did. No, America responded. Not with rage, but with respect. Harrison Ford didn't boast. He didn't chase fame. He simply showed up. And in doing so, the people won. Karoline's name faded into a cautionary tale. Not remembered for leadership, but for what not to become. But Harrison Ford's name? It echoed everywhere, from barbershops to schoolrooms, churches to union halls, because he stood firm when others folded. He didn't just call out betrayal, he restored trust. So if this story moved you, if it reminded you what integrity sounds like, share it, because this isn't just a story. It's a message we can't afford to forget. God bless Harrison Ford. God bless the people. And God bless the United States of America.